Hey there. You've been noticing some stiffness in your groin lately? It's like your body's trying to tell you to slow down, but you got stuff to do, you know? Good news is you're definitely not alone. And you know what's even better? You sent in this awesome YouTube video by Dr. Dwayne Chioda, a physical therapist over at Valley Rehab. He's got these 4 exercises to combat groin pain, and apparently he's been seeing this a lot in his practice lately, which honestly makes me feel a little less like a stiff, creaky robot.
It's true. Dr. Chioda says it's incredibly common, especially with how much we sit these days.
I'm curious about this connection between sitting and groin pain.
Well, think about it. When you're stuck in a chair all day, those hip flexor muscles get all shortened and tight. And guess what's right next door, just aching to pick up the slack? You got it, those poor, overstretched groin muscles. It's a recipe for stiffness and pain.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So we're basically going to break down these exercises, see what Dr. Chioda recommends, and figure out exactly how they're going to get us feeling less like a rusty gate hinge, right?
Exactly. We're going deep on not just what the exercises are, but the why behind them. Knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely. So what's the first move to conquer this whole groin stiffness situation?
It's called the active hip rotation. Don't let the name scare you. It's actually pretty chill.
All right, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
You start by lying flat on your back, and then it's all about those slow and controlled circles with your knee.
So far so good. This sounds doable.
Right. But here's where it gets interesting. Dr. Chioda is really big on engaging your core throughout this whole movement. He emphasizes it's not enough to just swing your leg around.
So it's not just a lazy leg circle. There's actual effort involved.
You got it. It's about control and stability. Think of it like this. Imagine you're bracing your core as if someone is about to poke you in the stomach. That's the kind of engagement we're going for.
Okay, I can definitely see how that would change things. But what does bracing my core have to do with my groin?
Everything. See, your core muscles act like an internal corset stabilizing your entire midsection, including your hips. And when your hips are stable, it takes the pressure off those poor, overworked groin muscles. Dr. Chioda says this is key for preventing future groin pulls.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It's all connected.
Exactly. And speaking of connected, let's move on to exercise number 2, which Dr. Chioda calls the fire hydrant.
Fire hydrant.
Yeah, I know the name's kind of out there, right? But trust me, it'll make sense when you see it.
Okay, you've got my attention. What do I do?
Picture this. You're on all fours, like you're about to do a tabletop. From there, you lift one leg out to the side, keeping it bent, kind of like, well, a dog at a fire hydrant.
I am so glad we established that the name fits. So what's the magic behind this one? Are we still engaging our core?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Chioda stresses that a strong core is non-negotiable for pretty much all of these exercises.
He's really onto something with that. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal. We're working our core and our groin muscles. Sign me up.
Exactly. But here's the cool part. Remember how we were lying down for the active hip rotation? Now with the fire hydrant, we're working against gravity.
That sounds more challenging already.
It is. That shift in gravity puts a different kind of demand on your groin muscles, which is important for building well-rounded strength and flexibility. Dr. Chioda is all about that comprehensive approach.
Makes sense. So we've rotated our hips, we've channeled our inner canines. What's next on our journey to groin pain relief?
Get ready for the modified side plank.
Ooh, planks. I can already feel the burn.
This one is a little different from a traditional plank. You're going to be on your side, but instead of propping yourself up on your forearm, you're going to stack your feet, one in front of the other, with the leg you're working on behind the other one.
Okay, I'm visualizing it. So far, so good. What's next?
From there, you're going to engage, you guessed it, your core, and lift your hips off the ground using those groin muscles to power the movement.
So it's kind of like a sideways plank, but with extra emphasis on the groin.
Exactly. And here's where Dr. Chioda throws in a little extra something. He recommends holding at the top of that lift for a solid 5 seconds. He says that's where the magic happens.
5 seconds. That sounds deceptively tough.
It is, but those 5 seconds are crucial because they force your muscles to work isometrically. It's like a mini marathon for your groin.
Intriguing. So we've targeted those muscles from pretty much every angle now, right?
Almost. We've got one more exercise to go, and this one is called the Cossack squat. Sometimes you'll hear it called a lateral lunge, but it's all the same idea.
Okay, hit me with it.
This one is all about that side-to-side movement. You're going to start with your feet wider than shoulder width apart, toes pointed slightly outward. From there, you're going to shift your weight to one side and sink down into a squat, keeping your other leg straight out to the side. Then you push back up and repeat on the other side.
I could already see how this one would be good for everyday movement like getting in and out of a car.
You got it. Dr. Kyoto actually highlights that in his video. He's big on incorporating exercises that mimic real-life movements because it translates to better functionality outside the gym.
So it's like we're not just fixing a problem, we're building a more resilient body overall. I love that.
Exactly. Now, before we move on, Dr. Kyoto does offer a helpful modification for this one. If you're feeling a little unsteady, especially at first, feel free to hold onto a countertop or a chair for balance.
Safety first.
Yeah.
So to recap, we've got our 4 exercises to combat groin pain. Active hip rotation, fire hydrant, modified side plank, and the Cossack squat. Sounds like a solid plan, right?
Absolutely. But there's actually a lot more to unpack here. You know, sometimes you read a book and there's this one line that just makes you pause and think. Well, Dr. Kyoto drops one of those at the end of his video, and it's got me thinking about this whole groin stiffness thing in a whole new light.
Intriguing. Okay, I'm hooked. What did he say?
He basically throws out this line about how if you're not seeing results from the exercises, maybe it's time to, see a doctor.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems obvious, but it's easy to get caught up in trying to fix things ourselves,
Totally. Sometimes we just need that little nudge to remind us that we're not alone in this whole health journey, and there are experts out there who can help us figure things out.
It's like those exercises are a great starting point, but there might be more to the story, right?
Exactly, and that's what I love about Dr. Kyoto's approach. He's not just giving us a quick fix, he's empowering us to take control of our health by understanding the bigger picture.
Okay, I'm all in on this bigger picture idea. Where do we start?
Well, how about we rewind for a second and revisit those exercises? Dr. Kyoto packs a lot of wisdom into that short video, so I bet there are some golden nuggets we can pull out.
Love it. Let's do it. Back to the active hip rotation.
You got it. Remember, it's all about slow, controlled circles with your knee while lying on your back. And this is key. Engage that core. Imagine you're pulling your belly button in towards your spine. It makes a huge difference.
It's amazing how such a small adjustment can change the entire feel of an exercise.
Right. And you know what I find helpful? Visualizing those groin muscles lengthening and strengthening with each rotation. It sounds a little out there, but that mind-muscle connection is a real thing.
Okay, that's a great tip. I'm going to try that next time. What about the fire hydrant? Anything else we should keep in mind?
Definitely. It's easy to let your form slip when you get tired, but Dr. Kyoto stresses that maintaining core engagement throughout the entire movement is crucial, especially in this one.
So it's not just about lifting your leg. It's about that deep core connection the whole time.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Your core muscles are the foundation for this exercise, and if that foundation is shaky, the whole thing falls apart.
Which in this case means we're not getting the most out of the exercise, right?
Precisely. And we want to give those groin muscles the attention they deserve. Now, let's talk about the modified side plank. This one is a real game changer, but it can be tough.
It had me feeling the burn for sure.
Right. But that burn, that's a good sign. It means those adductors are working. Remember those 5 seconds Dr. Kyoto wants us to hold at the top? That's where the magic happens.
Okay, remind me again why those 5 seconds are so important.
It's all about isometric strength. You see, when you hold a static position like that, you're essentially forcing those muscle fibers to fire at their maximum potential, which leads to some serious strength gains over time.
It's like a mini boot camp for your groin. So what about the Cossack squat? Any final words of wisdom from Dr. Kyoto?
Oh, absolutely. Remember how we talked about how this one mimics those everyday movements? Well, Dr. Kyoto emphasizes that this exercise is amazing for improving what he calls functional mobility. Basically, it's about moving better in your everyday life.
Which is what we all want, right? I mean, I'm not training for the Olympics here. I just want to be able to move freely and without pain.
Exactly. And the Cossack squat can help you do just that. It strengthens those groin muscles while also improving your balance and coordination. It's a win-win.
Love a good win-win. So we've got our 4 exercises. We've unpacked some key insights from Dr. Kyoto.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Well, before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to circle back to that comment Dr. Kyoto made about seeing a doctor.
The one about not seeing results.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. While these exercises are fantastic for addressing general groin stiffness, sometimes that stiffness is a symptom of something else entirely.
It's like that old saying, treat the cause, not just the symptoms.
And exactly. It's like if your car's check engine light comes on,
Yeah.
you don't just keep ignoring it, right? You take it to a mechanic to figure out what's going on under the hood. our bodies are the same way.
Okay, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
So what kind of things could be causing groin stiffness besides just, sitting too much or not stretching enough?
Well, there are actually a lot of possibilities. For starters, Dr. Kyoto talks about how sometimes groin pain can be referred, pain meaning it's actually originating from somewhere else, like your lower back or hips.
Wow, I had no idea. So it's like our bodies are playing a giant game of guess where the pain is really coming from.
Right. It can be tricky, but that's why it's so important to pay attention to those little aches and pains and not just brush them off.
And that's where seeing a professional comes in.
Mm-hmm.
They can help us decode those signals our bodies are sending.
Absolutely. They've got the knowledge and the tools to get to the root of the issue.
So we've talked about those 4 exercises from Dr. Kyoto's video, and we've touched on the importance of listening to our bodies and seeking professional help when needed. What else can we do to tackle this whole groin stiffness thing? What about prevention?
That's such a great question, and it speaks to that bigger picture we were talking about earlier, because it's not just about fixing the problem. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports our overall health and well-being.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me those actionable tips.
Well, for starters, let's talk about posture. Dr. Kyoto mentions how important it is to maintain good posture throughout the day, especially if you're sitting for long periods.
It's so easy to slump over a desk, though.
It is, but all that slumping can really wreak havoc on your hips and groin. So maybe set a timer on your phone to remind yourself to sit up straight, or try one of those fancy ergonomic chairs.
Or even just stand up and walk around every hour or so.
Exactly. Movement is medicine, my friend. And speaking of movement, let's talk about stretching.
Yes. Stretching is key, right?
Absolutely. Even just a few minutes of gentle stretching each day can make a world of difference.
Do you have any favorite stretches for groin stiffness?
You know what I find really helpful? A good old-fashioned butterfly stretch. You just sit on the floor, put the soles of your feet together, and gently press down on your knees. It's a great way to open up those hips and release tension in the groin.
Okay, that's definitely going in my stretching routine.
And you know what else can help? Foam rolling.
Ooh, I love foam rolling. It hurts so good.
Right, it's like a deep tissue massage for your muscles.
So how would you use a foam roller for groin stiffness?
You can gently roll your inner thighs over the foam roller, focusing on any areas that feel particularly tight. Just be sure to listen to your body and stop if you feel any sharp pain.
A great tip. So we've got stretching, foam rolling. What else can we add to our arsenal of groin-saving techniques?
Well, this might sound a little out there, but hear me out. Stress management.
Stress management. What does stress have to do with my groin?
You'd be surprised. You see, when we're stressed, our bodies go into fight or flight mode, which, from a primal perspective, is meant to help us deal with immediate danger. But when that stress response becomes chronic, it can lead to all sorts of problems, including muscle tension.
So all that tension we carry around in our shoulders and necks, that can actually manifest as groin stiffness.
It can. Our bodies are so interconnected, so finding healthy ways to manage stress, like exercise, meditation, or spending time in nature, can actually help relieve groin stiffness.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It really is all connected.
It is. And that's the beauty of these deep dives, right? We start with a seemingly simple topic, and it just spirals into this fascinating exploration of the human body and all its complexities.
It's like we've peeled back the layers of an onion. Only instead of crying, we're feeling more informed and empowered.
Exactly, and hopefully feeling a little less stiff in the groin department.
That's the goal. So as we wrap things up, what's the key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with today?
You know, I think the biggest takeaway here is that knowledge is power. By understanding how our bodies work and what might be contributing to our pain, we can make more informed choices about our health. Whether it's incorporating those exercises from Dr. Kyoto, seeing a professional when needed, or simply being more mindful of our posture and stress levels, every little step we take can make a difference.
I love that. So to our listeners out there, go out there, move your bodies, listen to those aches and pains, and don't be afraid to seek help when you need it. And hey, maybe try a butterfly stretch or two while you're at it. And join us next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of health and wellness.